Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about my June favorites. I have some things that are probably not going to be any surprise to you. I've been talking about them all month, but I do want to start with the perfume that I have on. I have mentioned this a few times before, but I really wanted to highlight this product because I've just fallen in love with it kind of like all over again over the past month. This is the Diptyque fragrance, L'Ombre dans l'eau. And this is the one that smells very much like their Bay candle, which is one of my all-time favorite scents. It is, I think, probably my favorite candle scent from Diptyque, my favorite like home fragrance scent from Diptyque. And this is very, very similar to it because it has this very deep rose scent to it, but the fragrance has a little bit of a bite, which keeps it from being too wintry, is how I would describe like the Bay candle. The Bay candle I find to be very wintry, very fall. It's very deep, it's very dark, it's kind of mysterious. This fragrance has a little bit of a crisp bite to it, which I think makes it really great for summertime. So I just wanted to mention this fragrance because if you're a big fan of the Bay home fragrance, you're gonna really, really love this. Okay, now for makeup. If you're new to my channel, what I like to do is apply as many of the favorites onto my face as possible, and I'll do cutaways of me applying them so that you can see these products in action. Otherwise, we'll do some shots of like swatches and things. First, I just wanted to share yet again this foundation that I've been loving. This is the Dr. Jart Premium Beauty Balm in the shade Fair Light. I believe there's 4 shades altogether. It has an SPF 40. This is the packaging that it comes in. I have been using this non-stop. It just makes my skin so smooth, so perfected. It wears beautifully all day. I just love it. I love it. It just melds into my skin. The shade, while it looks almost gray-like when I first apply it, it just, I don't know if it has like color changing, color shifting, color adapting technology. It doesn't state that anywhere on the package, right? No, it doesn't state that anywhere on the package, but I feel like that's what it does. So it just ends up being the perfect match for my skin. And I love the finish of it. I have very, very dry skin and it gives me this nice glow. If you have oilier skin, or if you're worried about that, you can just simply powder. I've used powder over this, wears beautifully as well. I just love this product. So I've been talking about this all month. I think this was in my favorites last month, so I'll move on. This product you guys just saw me go gaga over, but this is the new Jones Road Gel Bronzer, and I have it in the shade Light. I love this bronzer. The formula, the actual texture of the bronzer is very nice. It is not quite as goopy and sticky that you would think a gel is. It's almost like a balm in a way. It's almost like, it's like thicker than a serum. It has a little bit of grip to it, but there's no stickiness or tackiness or like kind of goopiness to it. It just has a very kind of slick, silky sort of texture to it. But what really stands out for me is the actual tone of these bronzers. So Jones Road sent this to me, and they actually sent over the shade medium as well. So the light shade that I use has this really beautiful peach, almost leaning a little red undertone to it. The red kind of comes out when I apply it to my face. I don't really see it when I swatch it. The medium tone, which looks a lot deeper, actually both of the bronzers look a lot deeper when you swatch it than you do when you apply it. They really kind of sheer out once you apply them. But the medium bronzer has a really beautiful, beautiful red undertone. I mean, she just nailed the undertones for these bronzers, and I'm not surprised. As you guys know, I love, love, love the Bobbi Brown bronzers, all of her powder bronzers. She's the one that turned me onto like a dustier pink, almost mauve colored bronzer that is so, so beautiful, I think, in the cooler months when I don't want something quite as warm. For Jones Road, she also has that Dusty Rose. I think it's called Dusty Rose. It's either Dusty Rose or Dusty Pink powder bronzer. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's just such a surprising shade. Anyway, Bobbi Brown is just a real genius when it comes to, I think, bronzers and their undertone. So I love this. I love this. The formula is great. The undertone is great. It applies beautifully. And it builds up beautifully because, again, like it swatches a lot more deeply than it actually applies on the face. So I went in very, very lightly. I remember when I first applied this. So I had to build it up, and it built up beautifully. And I just absolutely love it. I have it like all over. I love like focusing it on my nose and this like freckle zone. It's so, so good. So anyway, thank you again, Bobbi Brown, for coming out with wonderful bronzers. And this is just great. No exception here. So there have been quite a few blush sticks that have come out this past month. And I wanted to highlight two of them, mainly because I just really, really love the shades. The formulas are great, but the shades are really beautiful. So the first one is from Pat McGrath. She came out with these, I'm sure there's a much longer name, but these blush sticks, like Divine Blush Balm Stick, Skin Fetish, something. The shade that I love is Sun-Kissed Seduction. And this is actually what I have on my cheeks today. This has such a beautiful sunburnt touch to it. It is like a cool toned, but red kind of terracotta. It's just really, really beautiful. And it, like the longer I look at this shade, the more like tones I see. I almost see like a purple undertone, and then I see reds. It's just a very unique shade, and I think she just really nailed it on the head with this one, because when I apply it, I feel like I'm just bringing out any sort of like sun-kissed quality to my skin, and it's just really gorgeous. The formula, very standard. It's creamy, it's not sticky. It's very well pigmented. I would say this is actually more pigmented than the next one I'm going to talk about, which is from Summer Fridays. Summer Fridays came out with these blush balm sticks, and they're meant for cheeks and lips. I haven't experimented too much with them on my lips, but I can imagine that they probably work great for the lips because they are very, very balmy, and they are lightly pigmented, more lightly pigmented than the Pat McGrath. So this shade, this Dusty Rose shade, is like a very everyday, beautiful, bright kind of shade. It is a little bit less sunburnt than the Pat McGrath because this has a little bit more pink, a little bit less red to it, and it's just really gorgeous. And like I mentioned, this one has lighter pigmentation than the Pat McGrath. It is also balmier, the texture. So again, I can see it working for the lips as well. I can imagine they would be really, really nourishing. But this Dusty Rose shade it's just perfect. It's like very, very neutral, and it works, I think, for every day. So anyway, just really impressed with most notably the shades of these two blush sticks. I don't think either formula like stands out or is very, very different from anything we've seen on the market. I think that they're very easy to use. This one's more pigmented, this one's less pigmented, and that's it. It's the colors that I really, really love. And while we're on the topic of blush, let's talk about this Blush and Glow palette from Hourglass. I really love this. I love the highlights in here, and I really, really love the blushes. As you can imagine, I love this one. It has a really beautiful like nude mauve tone to it. And then these are great for just like a punch of color. They're so Hourglass. They're really well pigmented. They're just so bright and so beautiful. And of course, Hourglass powders just do this really beautiful like reflect. I know, they just make my skin look so smooth. So today I have this highlighter on, and I have it, I don't know if you can see it, if I can angle my face properly. Hold on. Yeah, like right here. I just have it right on the tops of my cheekbones here. Yeah, actually that's, I think, more clear. It just gives you this really glossy, luscious kind of highlight. Nothing different from Hourglass, right? We're used to this from Hourglass, and I just love this particular palette. Most of their ambient lighting palettes have like a bronze in there or whatever. I'm actually not the biggest fan of Hourglass bronzers, which is probably why I love this palette so much. The bronzers have an undertone that I'm not a fan of. They're very, very orangey, at least on my skin tone. That's how they appear. And they also have a lot of like micro glitter, at least some of them. And I'm just not a fan of them. Anyway, I haven't been able to find an Hourglass bronzer that I really enjoy. So I'm just loving this. I'm loving this like just blush and highlight palette, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I believe this is exclusive to the Hourglass site. And of course, I'll flash my coupon code up here, get 10% off on the Hourglass site. So I'll link it down below, and I'll flash the coupon code up here for you guys to use. So that's the Hourglass Blush and Glow. Blush and Glow, right? That's what I've been calling it. Yeah, Blush and Glow palette. I feel like I have a little piece of hair right here. Something's tickling me. Well, I have an eyelash down here. Oh my God, I'm such a mess. Oh, it's like a little fuzzy. Nothing new for eyebrows. Still continuing to use and enjoy my Persona Swipe Up Brow Gel. And eyeshadow. There is only one eyeshadow worth talking about this month. This is the Natasha Denona. I was saying yucca. This apparently is pronounced yucca. Yucca is with one C. Apparently they're very different. This yucca is a flower and yucca is a root vegetable that I love. But anyway, this is the yucca palette. And you guys know how much I love greens and acidy greens. And I love Natasha Denona's new like sparkling foil formula. It's just such a fun palette. This is an eyeshadow palette that has inspired me. As you guys know, I really love a one and done shadow. I love neutral shades. I could live there all day. But every once in a while, a palette comes along and I'm like, oh, I miss that. Like I miss using a little bit of color. Let me use a little bit of color. It inspires me to try something different. It inspires me to kind of break out of my comfort zone a little bit. This is definitely one of those palettes. The last one I can remember doing that for me is that Isamaya Industrial palette. God, I love that palette. But it was the same thing. I opened it up and I was like, this is really pretty. Like I should really be using a little bit more color. So that's why I'm just loving this palette. I'm not gonna be wearing like a bright pastel green color every day on my lids, but just seeing it in this palette, just opening up this palette and taking a look at the color story, it makes me happy. And again, it just inspires me to try something a little bit different. The other thing I wanna mention, and this is something that, oh my gosh, if you've been with me for years, I mean, we're talking probably like 4 or 5 years ago, there were a bunch of matte shades that I loved to use for transition shades, and they all had a kind of mustard, kind of greenish yellow hint to them. They were kind of like visibly like they looked like a camel color, but then they had like a little bit of a mustard undertone. And that's what so many of these shades kind of remind me of. So today, I have this palette on my eyes. Today, I mixed these two colors together to give me a transition shade because this one's a little bit too like yellow, straight up yellow for me. And then this one has that mustard in it that I really love. And for some reason, I just find mustard toned, not like overtly mustard, but like mustard toned transition shades to work really, really well on my skin tone, on a lot of skin tones. It's almost like a shade that you look at and you're like, well, I'm not gonna use that. Like it almost looks a little putrid, but it works so, so well. I invite you all, it doesn't have to be this palette, because there's a lot out there like MAC, Bobbi Brown. I think they have like matte shades that have like a little bit of like acidity to them. They just work really well. So anyway, I love the idea of the matte shades in here. And again, I use these two shades as a transition shade in here. And then I just used this Como Rebi shade. This is one of her new sparkling foil shades. I think that's what they're called. Sparkling something. I think it's sparkling foil shades. There are 5 in here. So this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And they are, I would say, maybe a little bit different from her like just straight up metallic shades, which I think have a little bit more opacity to them. So you can see that this has like a little bit of a lighter touch than Natasha Denona's like typical sort of metallic shades. These kind of remind me, and I wish I could remember the name because I decluttered all of them, but Natasha Denona had those potted shadows. And these remind me of those potted shadows. They had a little bit of a translucency to them. Not totally like topper shades, just a lighter touch. And I love that, especially when it comes to shades that are so bright. And for a neutral lover like myself, if I don't want something that's just too bold, this is perfect. It's just this little like hint of this kind of grasshopper green, grasshopper's on my mind, grasshopper green. And I love it. I love it. So I really like this new formula and I really love the shades in here. Just really beautiful. Okay, moving on to mascara. You guys knew I was gonna talk about this mascara. So this is the Swede mascara, the Pro Lash Lift Mascara. This mascara I got from Andrea Ali. She is an incredible YouTuber here. I am such a fan of hers. And she came out with like a favorites kind of set. And this was part of it. So I had never heard of this brand Swede before. And look at this brush. Now I know this isn't the favorite for everyone, but I really enjoy it. So it doesn't have a typical spoolie for an applicator. It has this little brush, which I feel like I've seen more for like eyebrow application. But this is awesome. It's awesome for eyelashes. I really feel like it kind of lays the mascara onto each lash like really evenly versus a spoolie where I feel like wherever your spoolie lands, that's where that's where all the mascara is, and then you're just sort of like brushing it through, you're just like working it through, where this does it like all in one swoop. It's just really beautiful. And I feel like my lashes end up kind of looking like lacquered in a way. It's just really beautiful mascara. So anyway, I wanted to mention this, and this is in the shade black. I do believe they have a brown shade as well. Again, I'm not that familiar with this brand, but I am really, really impressed with this mascara. They have a different mascara that I think many of you commented on, like, oh, you love that other one because it has a more typical spoolie. I really want to try that one too, now that I've tried this one. So anyway, I really love this, and I've been using this quite a bit this past month. Okay, for lips, let me start with what I have on my lips. So these U Beauty Plasma Lip Compounds are incredible. So U Beauty is a skincare brand, and they had this Plasma Lip Compound as like a skincare treatment. And it's supposed to plump your lips, smooth them out, hydrate them, really nourish them. And then they came out with 3 tinted shades. So I'm holding up Fawn because this is by far my favorite and the one that I've been using the most. It's what I have on my lips. They did also come out with Rose, which I would say is probably my second favorite. And then they also came out with Cassis, which is like a berry shade. Gorgeous as well. I just don't reach for it as much as I reach for these two. So it has this silver, oh, that's gross. Let me wipe that off. Hold on. It has this silver tip, which is so cooling. It's so comforting when you apply the compound. And I love that it's tinted because it, you know, it takes it from just being skincare and moves it into a makeup product. Gosh, it is really plumping. My lips, look how smooth my lips look. And you guys know my lips are dry and they're usually pretty creased. Look how smooth this is. And I just love the idea of being able to treat my lips well while wearing makeup. And, you know, I used to be opposed, again, this is years ago if you follow me for a long time. I used to be opposed, I don't know, that could be too strong of a word, but I didn't really appreciate when things were like mixed. Like it's skincare and it's makeup and it does this and it does that. And I always felt like, well, I don't think it can do both really well if it's trying to be like too many things. But I definitely have changed my tune. I just feel like, hey, if we could like do 2 things at once, why not? And this is definitely one of those things. I really feel like I have a lip mask on while I have like a tinted product, which sort of completes my makeup look. So really loving this. And the last time I checked the U Beauty site, they were having a sale on these, I believe. I'll leave a link to it down below in my description box. I don't know if that sale was like kind of an introductory price because these tinted ones are new, or if it's kind of ongoing or whatever, but I'll leave it down below in my description box and hopefully it's still on sale. So loving those lip compounds. And then I've also been loving the Make Beauty, I think these are the High Impact Cream lipsticks. I think there's more words in there like pigmentation or something, because these are very, very highly pigmented, very creamy lipsticks. And the shade that I have, I believe is Atmospheric. Hold on. Atmospheric. And this is like a really beautiful caramelly brown. So here is a swatch of Atmospheric. I just love it. I love this like caramel nude tone. It's so beautiful. And I do think I see a little bit of like a warm undertone and also pink in there. So I think you can make this lean a little bit cooler with like a cooler lip liner, like something that's more pink, more mauve, or you can use a lip liner that's a little bit warmer, that has more orange in there, and it'll kind of pull this lip color in that direction. So I like the chameleon-like quality to this particular color. The formula is great. I don't know if you guys can see that shine there. It's super creamy. It feels so great on the lips. I love this kind of thinner stilo. It makes for really easy application. And it does have a little bit of a vanilla scent to it, just FYI. And they have a ton of colors, a ton of really bright, unexpected colors. It's very, very beautiful, but this is the one that I've been reaching for quite a bit. So that is it for my favorites. I am pre-filming this particular video because I am in Italy somewhere when you're seeing this. So hopefully I didn't miss too much stuff between the time I'm filming and when it's going up, but I love all of these products so much and they are listed down below in the description box. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Please let me know what some of your favorites have been. If there are some things that I need to run out and purchase, let me know. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.